Good morning, and welcome to another edition of From the Desk of Dan White. We usually start these videos with a little market update. And, as far as this year is concerned, it's been another pretty good year for the stock market, depending upon what you owned anyway. Despite a recent slowdown, the Magnificent Seven mega cap tech stocks continued to outperform this year, with those seven stocks up 22% as of the end of November. On the other hand, the S&P 493, that is the rest of the S&P 500, minus the Mag 7, was up only 14%. And meanwhile, the S&P 500 Equal Weight Index, which is more representative of the average large cap stock performance, has gained just 8.4% as of the end of last month. Now, the idea of the top stocks in the index dominating the annual return charts is nothing new, but the S&P 500 has never been as highly concentrated in technology-enabled stocks as it is today. Just 20 years ago, Microsoft and IBM were the only tech companies among the S&P's top 10. Hard to believe. 10 years ago, there was also just two tech stocks in the top 10, Microsoft and Apple. But today, the list is dominated by tech-enabled stocks. In fact, only two stocks in the S&P's top 10 are not technology-related, JP Morgan and Berkshire Hathaway. And since 2022, the Mag 7 tech stocks accounted for 55% of the price return of the S&P 500 index as a whole, and 45% of 2025's year-to-date gains came from these seven stocks. And this year, the dominance of the Mag 7 has diminished somewhat, but I believe the trend will continue in 2026. And the big news last week, the Federal Reserve just delivered a little more juice. They cut interest rates by 25 basis points, leaving the target federal funds rate in a range of 3.5% to 3.75%. And the market was kind of expecting this. It wasn't a unanimous vote, which was kind of unusual. 9 of the 12 voting members voted in favor of the cut, 3 voters dissented. That's the most since 2019. But the thing that I want to point out to people is most investors expect rate cuts. I mean, it did move the market yesterday. We're within last week within 3 points of a new all-time high. And most investors expect rate cuts to boost stock prices, unlock the mortgage market, drive up spending, and keep the economy running hot. In other words, rate cuts are the magic wand. But it's up in the air if any of those things are going to happen. However, there is one thing that has happened consistently whenever the Fed starts cutting after a rate hiking cycle, and you're probably not going to like it. Going back to 1989, the economy has gone into recession every time the Fed has started cutting rates. Recessions followed rate-cutting cycles in 1991, 2001, 2007, and 2020. The Fed's job is to keep the economy in balance. When it's heating up, the Fed raises rates to cool it down. When it's cooling, they drop rates to try to heat it up again. Like it or not, rate cuts are a warning sign. They show that the Fed is worried about a slowing economy and, by extension, a falling stock market. This time may be different. The Fed may have discovered how to walk the tightrope, keeping the economy right where it should be and avoiding a recession, but they haven't been able to do that successfully in 35 years, so we don't really see any reason why we should bet on it being successful now. Another thing we introduced in this video was the DWA mailbag, and one of the questions that we get all the time is, what about taxes in retirement? People always think they're paying way too much in taxes, and and they want to know how they can minimize taxes. Well, when we sit down with our clients, probably the bulk of the people we see, and if you're under $140,000 to $145,000 this year in taxable income, with the deductions and all, you're going to be in a 12% tax bracket. So most people are not paying all that much in taxes. We have the lowest tax rates we've ever seen, pretty much in our country. If you are concerned about taxes, one thing we've been really, stomping our feet on for the last couple years is Roth conversions. So if you are concerned that taxes could go up in the future, and I do believe they will, look at partial Roth conversions. Look at how much room you have in a lower tax bracket and see if a Roth conversion might make sense for you, and we can help you with that as well. And then the last thing is Social Security. Will Social Security be taxed? Well, I literally had clients in my office this past week, and they said they got really hit last year because they weren't, they didn't account for their Social Security being taxed. I mean, you think about it, a lot of people are getting $3,000 or more in Social Security benefits. And if that's the case, there's a good chance a lot of that's going to be taxable. So when you sign up for Social Security or talk to us, it might be a good idea to withhold some money for taxes. Next on our agenda today, we are always trying to offer new services to our clients, and I'm proud to announce that effective January 1st, we have contracted with Kevin Igo, CPA, CFP. He's going to be joining us to provide tax advisory and tax preparation services for our client base. Kevin has been my personal CPA for over 40 years, and I'm really proud to provide his expertise to our clients with his tax prep services. So you can reach out to us in January if you're looking for somebody to do your taxes. We can hook you up with Kevin. It's December, and our staff has decided to have another gingerbread house competition. Some of our staff members are very creative, and they have created their own gingerbread houses for a decorating competition. So please feel free to click the link below to place your vote on our gingerbread houses. It being the holiday season, I just want to share with you a couple of my family's favorite Christmas traditions. When I was a little kid, we were allowed to open one present Christmas Eve. That was it. You'd see some of the presents there, and we were allowed to open one on Christmas Eve. And then as I got married and we had our own children, one of our traditions was, we've gone to an artificial tree, but we would always go out and cut down or pick out a Christmas tree. And my wife always had to get the biggest Christmas tree out there. And then one of the traditions, which was kind of a Chevy Chase tradition, is we would bring the tree in the house and it would never fit. So I'd have to get the saw out. I'd have to probably chop off about a foot and a half off the bottom of the Christmas tree, take the branches up just to fit it in the house. And I'd be grumbling and mumbling the whole time, but that was one of our traditions, is let's get the saw out. Dad's got to chop the Christmas tree down. So if you have Christmas traditions, we'd love to hear about them as well. Finally, our Christmas office hour updates. Our offices are going to be closed on Wednesday, December the 24th and Thursday, December the 25th. We will be reopening at noon on Friday the 26th. We also will be closed the following week, New Year's week, on Wednesday and Thursday for the new year. And finally, as we come to the close of another year, I want to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, a Happy Hanukkah, and a happy and prosperous New Year. Happy holidays, everyone.